Welcome back, everyone. It's Stephanie with VA Claims, Veterans Helping Veterans. Today is part 2 of our series on independent medical opinions, also known as IMOs, and NEXUS. So today we're going to be talking about the ingredients of an IMO and a NEXUS. So let's take a look at some of those ingredients. First, they need to state their name and credentials to include their degree, any specialty or subspecialty they hold, and where their training was through medical school, residency, or fellowship, any societies or organizations they hold memberships with, and this is an important part, their National Provider Identifier, also known as NPI, and Universal Provider Identification Number, UPIN, along with the state where they are licensed and their license number. Now keep in mind, that is an important part of the ingredients of an IMO NEXUS. They must also state that they have reviewed the records in full to include all military and civilian records available. Now, in the case of a NEXUS, they must state that they have physically examined the veteran and the results of that exam. In some cases, depending on the condition, this can be done through a teleconference, but don't expect this if your condition needs to be physically examined with something like a BAP or ortho-type condition where it requires a ROM, a flexion, and an extension exam. All right, continuing on with these ingredients. They need to make the statement and or opinion one issue being as likely as not to have caused or aggravated the other issue. And they need to state their rationale for this. Here is an example. It is my medical opinion, it is at least as likely as not the veteran Smith's obstructive sleep apnea is caused by the fact that on a physical exam, I found that their service-connected chronic allergic rhinitis has caused a 50% or greater blockage of their airways, particularly when they sleep and shown in their sleep study, dated, and the date would go there. Now, what I find most frequent about NEXUS and IMOs that I have looked over for veterans is it's missing this example right here. It's very, very vital. And one of the other ingredients is they need to include the medical literature that backs their opinion. This can be done from medical textbooks, peer-reviewed studies, and articles. Oftentimes, most of the IMOs, NEXUSs that I have seen that are bought and paid for include studies with page after page that show that the number of veterans with conditions that may be slightly to moderately higher than the civilian population. They may even point to specific studies. However, these are correlation, not causation. All right, let's take a look at this graph. So in other words, if the study says 34% of veterans with PTSD have obstructive sleep apnea, also known as OSA, as opposed to 26% of the public with PTSD, this does not mean that because you have both PTSD and OSA that one caused the other, but there may be an increased correlation between the two. Now remember that there are still 66% of veterans out there with PTSD that do not have OSA. Again, they state there is an increased correlation for you as a veteran, but there are numerous other risk factors that should be considered with any diagnosis. Now, these studies don't speak to you, the veteran, that these IMOs, NEXUSs are being written for. A lot of these IMOs and NEXUSs are showing correlation, not causation. So again, when you are attempting to get an IMO NEXUS, you need to make sure you have the doctor providing causation, not correlation. All right, guys, this ends part 2, and I hope this video was helpful. And if so, don't forget to click that like button and click that bell for notifications for future videos to come. Now, stay tuned for our final part of our series where we will be talking about are paid for IMO and NEXUS letters worth it? Please leave any comments or questions you may have in the comment section below, or feel free to email me at VACVHV@gmail.com. And remember my motto, veterans do better when veterans know better.